We welcome you to this forum featuring the candidates who have filed to run in the primary election for Mayor of Crystal and Section 1 Crystal City Council. A primary election is called for because more than 2 candidates filed for each seat. The election will be held on Tuesday, August 14th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. My name is Lois Wendt, President of the League of Women Voters of Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth. The League of Women Voters is proud of its history of citizen education in our communities and provides these forums to help you to make more informed decisions in local elections. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, and the views of the candidates are their own. We do not assume responsibility for the contents of the candidates' statements. Our moderator this evening is Joe Bogdan, a resident of Plymouth and a member of the Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth League of Women Voters.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to serve this evening as your moderator, and this evening we are going to begin with our mayoral candidates. The forum for the mayor candidates will take place until 7:40 p.m. We will take a 5-minute break, and then at 7:45 we will begin with the Section 1 City Council membership. Here's a brief description of what's going to occur tonight. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an opening statement, an opportunity to tell us about themselves and why they are running for the mayor's position. Following that, members of the audience may ask questions of any individual candidate or of all candidates. Please write your questions on the cards provided and hand them to a league member. All candidates may answer any question whether or not it was directed to them. Candidates may take up to 1 minute to answer. At the end of the question and answer period, each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing remarks. The candidates in alphabetical order are Jim Adams, Renee Bauman, and Andrew Richter. The timekeeper will assist you by indicating how much time remains and when to stop. Can you all see her clearly?
Yes.
Okay, please begin with your opening statements. We have drawn lots, and we will begin with Renee Bauman.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Thank you to citizens for taking the time to listen and learn before casting your vote on August 14th. I am Renee Bauman. I am running for re-election as your mayor, and tonight I reapply for the job by asking for your vote. Why Renee Bauman? Because I have a proven track record of leading concrete, positive changes for Crystal citizens. Through the work I have completed, I believe I have earned your vote. According to the Citizens Survey, under my leadership, the quality of life in Crystal has improved, as well as a sense of citizen empowerment. More evidence of my leadership is a strong city finances. I bring to the council table experienced and best practice-based financial management skills. Crystal's budget is stable, even during these unstable times. At a time when property values plummeted, citizens did not see double-digit city property tax increase. Further proof of financial strength, Crystal paid cash $1 million for our portion of the West Metro fire trucks. We knew the expense was coming. We budgeted and saved to avoid debt service fees and interest. Crystal does not deficit spend. Bond debt is usually limited to things like the pool reconstruction, approved by citizen vote, and to finance the citizen portion of street assessments. We do not borrow or bond for trucks or plows or any other operational expenses. My opponents tonight will try to make the case that the sky is falling and evil lurks behind each corner. Unfortunately, their statements are used in an attempt to foster the notion that proven qualifications do not count, but they do. Tonight's questions and answers will provide concrete evidence of my qualifications and abilities to continue to serve as your mayor. One more thing, I love this job. I thank you for the honor of serving for the last 8 years as your mayor, and I look forward to another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak is Andrew Richter.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming out. My name's Andrew Richter, and I'm a product of this area. I went to Lincoln Elementary, Hosterman Junior High, I graduated from Cooper High School in 1995, and I went to North Hennepin Community College, and I left the city and came back. And when I came back and decided I was going to stay, it's the first time I really looked toward what was happening in our local government. And as I've gone around talking to citizens, and citizens have talked to me, the one thing that really they tell me the most is that they are frustrated with their city council. And I share that frustration with them. And I respect my opponents. I don't think the sky is falling. I have nothing personal against them, but I think I'm the only candidate here that brings real change to this city. I'm the only candidate up here that wants to make sure work sessions are televised and downloadable on the internet. I'm the only candidate to propose real specific charter and city code changes in this city. I'm the only candidate that wants to get the city out of the real estate business and stop buying property everywhere and tearing things down. I'm the only candidate that opposes our 3-lane roads that were put in a few years ago. I'm the only candidate that wants to return our Hennepin County tax levy, 100% of it, $534,000 to you, the people. I'm the only candidate that would like to give you the authority through a referendum to cap city spending and whether you want major special assessments done. I'm the only candidate that opposes our 2030 comprehensive plan and would work to make changes. And I suggest people go to it and read, especially the land use part of it, the 22 sections of the city that the city is targeting for redevelopment. And I also believe that we need to change the way we make decisions. We need to have a public hearing first, a work session second, and a vote last. And what I see is the opposite. I see a work session, a consensus built, and then a public hearing. So if you want real change and you want to mix things up in the city, Andrew Richter is the only candidate to vote for. Thank you.
And our third introductory statement is from Jim Adams.
Good evening. My name is Jim Adams. I've been a Crystal resident for 15 years. I'm married and I have 3 children, 2 in college and 1 in high school. I have a business degree with an emphasis in accounting and economics. Currently, my wife and I run Ray Enterprises, a construction remodeling business. In addition to that full-time job, I have many part-time jobs. I am a lieutenant of the West Metro Fire Rescue District. I am the president of the Relief Association for the Fire Department. I am the charitable gambling CEO of the Relief Association for Big Louie's gambling operation. I work and travel for rescue resources, training technical rope rescue teams, and working as a rescue technician for the industries throughout the Midwest. Also, I volunteer my time for my church doing a huge variety of things. I also have coached many youth programs in different organizations. I support smaller government in holding the line on taxes and debt. We have an extremely talented and professional staff on Crystal, and they need to be supported, and they need to be trusted. As a nonpartisan mayor, I will listen to these professionals, and I will seek to do more with less. As a mayor, my management style will unleash the assets of citizen engagement, and our citizens will have a voice, and they will be heard. This will give them the power to hold our representatives accountable. Together we can make Crystal a vibrant city. We can use private solutions for public problems. We can fill our vacant homes with people who will support our businesses, who will support our communities, and who will become our neighbors.
Thank you. Now it is time for the audience questions. The audience may continue to write their questions, and they will be collected by a league member. Again, the questions can be addressed to any individual or all the candidates combined. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer every question. We do reserve the right to consolidate questions if there are several on one issue, so that as many issues as possibly can be addressed this evening. Questions will be answered in rotating order, and the first one will be directed to Andrew Richter. What do you see as challenges to starting and/or growing a business in the city?
Okay, well, I think the first thing I see, I'm a former small business owner, and I can tell you that when I got into business, I had no idea all the licenses, permits, fees that you had to pay, all the special assessments that you never saw coming and didn't know about. And I really see that as a big challenge, is that startup cost, because it's so hard for a business to be profitable soon. And the less we can burden that on the businesses, I think the better off we'll be. And I also think that the government needs to treat all businesses equally. I am against giving out money to one business while another business goes bankrupt. And we see it everywhere. We see it in our tax system. We see it with bailouts. We see it locally when one business gets money to move while another business goes out of business. And I think we need to cut the cost to start a business from the city as best as we can, and then we need to treat all those businesses equally and let you, the consumer, pick the winners and losers.
Thank you. The next, Jim Adams.
Yes, I own and run my own business. It's a construction business. We deal heavily with codes, and we do a little bit of commercial work for some retail outlets, and it is amazing to see how these codes almost make it prohibitive for them to actually do the construction they want to do. Oftentimes, businesses are blindsided by some of these things. They come out of left field, and it depends on what city you're in, what inspector you run into. Things just continually change, even throughout a project. These types of codes are a huge challenge. And again, it's a huge problem. Usually, you would think a business would have a problem with their competitor, but when you're dealing with city codes and compliance issues, and that becomes your biggest competitor, we have a problem.
Thank you. Renee Bauman, next.
Could you please repeat the question?
What do you see as challenges to starting and/or growing a business in this city?
I don't believe that Crystal really has that many roadblocks in front of businesses that choose to settle here. Part of that evidence is the businesses that exist on 36th and Douglas area, the business shopping mall that's up in the Crystal area. We do have one mall that needs a little work, but that's all private development. Many of the codes, I'm not really sure what specific codes they're talking about. I know we have licenses for tobacco and liquor and those standard sort of licenses. I come from an HVAC family where my dad was a small business, and I've been a small business owner. My brothers are small business owners. And many of those codes that are being talked about tonight can be state and federal codes and not necessarily city codes. The other aspect in as far as providing development money for the Northwest Family Physicians Group, they were a 40-year business in this city. We will recoup our money. Other businesses that have gone out of business or filed bankruptcy have many times done so due to poor business management and not what the city itself has done.
Your time has
Thank you.
expired. Next question, we'll start with Jim Adams. What do you think should be the 3 top priorities for the city to address?
Number one is to reduce our debt and to reduce our reliance on debt. I look at debt in my personal life as something that is eroding my ability to make payments on bills and what have you. It's not that much different for a city. If we have a debt service of just under $2 million. We also have an LGA problem. And our debt service is more than our LGA problem. I believe if we control some of our debt, that will go a long way in helping us get off our reliance of LGA, local government aid. That's one. 2, we need to engage our community, engage the citizens, and they have to be part of the private solution for some of our public problems. Third, EDA. Our EDA is...
Thank you, Jim. I'm sorry your time has expired. Renee?
Sure. The three top priorities will, of course, be sustainable budgets, continued citizen input. I did start citizen input here in the city of Crystal. I also am the founding person for the Crystal Business Association to make sure that we received input from our businesses and that they also knew what government was doing. So that enhanced and improved communication, which our survey talks about. Our numbers are going in the right direction. What we're doing is working. And then the other part of it is making sure that all of our city departments are transparent in the financial operations of what they do. Not only transparent, but accountable to the taxpayer, to the citizen, for how the dollars are being spent here out of City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew Richter?
Okay, well, I think the big three priorities for me would be putting a referendum on the ballot so you can cap spending. So you set aside how much money you want to spend. I mean, the government's supposed to work for you. And I don't feel I have control over government spending. And I'm very fearful. I've talked to a lot of people who are fearful of special assessments coming their way. And if it's scheduled, it's probably going to get done. That's what I tell them. I think another big thing for me is changes to our code and charter, and especially the charter. I really think we need to consider, no offense on the debaters after us, but I think we need to consider getting Section 1 and Section 2 councils members. I don't see why we need to be represented twice in that respect. I mean, New Hope's the same size, and they have 4 members and a mayor, and I don't see why we have 7. And I would say the other thing, and maybe I'll finish, I'll go to the televising the work sessions. I think that's really important because I used to think this council never disagreed on anything until I went to a work session.
Thank you, Andrew. Your time has expired. This next question will begin with Renee Bauman. Are there opportunities for the city along the Botenau Boulevard corridor? Excuse me if I've mispronounced
That's
that.
okay.
Not from the area. How will transit options affect city planning?
Can you read that to me once more?
Are there opportunities for the city along the Botenau Boulevard corridor? How will transit options affect city planning?
Well, the Bottineau Boulevard project is pretty much completed. The Bottineau Boulevard project will stay as it is for as long as possible. Opportunities to continue to work on transit in the area will be the light rail line that the several communities and the county are working together that would start up at the Target campus and end up at the Target Field downtown. There are always opportunities to promote and engage in appropriate transit opportunities for citizens. This also includes bike and walking paths, which have been tremendously successful here in the city of Crystal, and we have received a fair amount of support for that. So all of it rolled together, buses, cars, bikes, walking, I think are all of the opportunities that we do have up at the Bottineau Boulevard area. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Next, we have Andrew Richter.
Okay, well, to be blunt, I'm not the biggest supporter of the light rail, if that's what the question's referring to. I really do fear how long this is going to take to do, and all the transit-oriented development. If you go to BottineauBoulevardPartnership.org, you'll see all these plans for putting high-density housing and cramming people. And as somebody who lives right off of Highway 81, I'm really not excited about that. And I don't want that under construction for another 20 years. So I'm not the biggest supporter of that public transit. And as far as opportunities go, again, I think the private sector should be doing that, not the government. We should back off and let who wants to build there, build there. That's what I think about it.
Thank you, Andrew. Next, we have Jim Adams.
Yes, we are already committed to light rail. I think that indeed is what the question is referring to. We now need to make sure that we promote the proper development in that area around the station, development that is pedestrian-friendly because of the train, and one that private business can be a part of. So making a plan for developing that is the key to this at this point.
Thank you, Jim. We'll start the next question with Andrew Richter. Does the city have a need for low-income family, senior, singles, housing. What actions, if any, would you propose?
No, I don't think so. We don't have enough people for the houses we already have. So I don't know what the point would be in building more. And I don't think there is a need for us to top-down push that. I would prefer us to back off the real estate business and stop buying property, tearing them down, doing all that stuff. I just disagree that that's something we should be promoting.
Thank you, Andrew. Next, Jim Adams.
Could you repeat that question?
Does the city have a need for low-income family, senior, singles housing? What actions, if any, would you propose?
Sounds like that's an interesting question. I think what the question is asking, is it in the city's interest to develop that project? I'm a proponent of private business. If we do indeed have a need for those types of or projects, I'd like to explore private avenues for doing so. I would believe we probably do need some type of senior low-income housing, but I don't know that we need to look to the city for the first avenue of developing that.
Thank you, Jim. Next, Renee Bauman.
Great. I don't believe that we need to develop low-income housing here in the city of Crystal. We have plenty of good housing stock. The one thing that we do here at the council is that we have purchased blighted properties and then worked with private developers who buy the land, and we have 18 brand new houses in the city of Crystal. The houses that came down were houses that had burst water pipes and had sat vacant and could not be fixed. I do have houses that have come to the council that we've refused to buy because that's something that belongs to the private sector. We always defer to the private sector when we know it's going to be a project that the private sector will step in and do. We actually don't push down from the top. We work in association and collaboration with neighborhoods in the community to make sure that our housing stock stays healthy. Far more important than attempting to figure out, if we're going to have rich people or poor people live here. Our goal is to have good, healthy housing stock here in the city of Crystal.
Thank you, Renee. The next question, we will start with Jim Adams. Please name your 3 largest cost savings or revenue increases, and how many dollars would each contribute to property tax reductions?
My biggest one is going to be debt reduction. I don't know exactly at what point in time the tax reduction would be there for the citizens of Crystal. My proposal is to use any savings we have or any monies we are currently spending to buy down our debt in a more quickly fashion so that we can stop using as much of this debt, and when we get to the end of the line, we will have a larger amount that is tax savings. It's long-term tax savings that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a Band-Aid. If we get an extra couple bucks, I don't want to just automatically give a tax break to the citizens because they need it now. It needs to be a long-term thing. We have an economy that is it's not recovering nearly as quickly as we think. We still need to have it for a long term. Our recovery is going to be slow, and it's going to be for a lot of years. We need to stop at the levels we are now.
Thank you, Jim. Renee Bauman.
And please repeat the question.
Please name your 3 largest cost savings or revenue increases, and how many dollars would each contribute to property tax reduction?
Thank you. The largest part of the Crystal budget is public safety, so police and fire, and then public works and utilities. That takes up about 60% or more of the tax dollars that are collected. So as we move to the future, what we've done, we've made lots of cuts that have been somewhat transparent to the citizens at this point. As we walk into the 2013 budget, we know that people do not want to see a property tax increase. So now we're going to look at cutting services. In our survey, it said that Crystal citizens were not willing to see an increase to maintain services. So now it'll be a matter of looking at, do we want to cut back on snow plowing? Do we want to cut back on pothole repairs? What do we want to cut back on? And those will be the things that we will be coming to the citizens for this fall for continued input. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Next, Andrew Richter.
I agree with some of what I've heard, especially about paying down debt. And I would say also that maintaining our shared services, I think, is important, and I think we should consider more. Crystal describes itself as a fully developed community, meaning we're not going to double in population. We've been stagnant for 20 some odd years now in population. And if there's a way we can share the costs with other cities, and I know we do that on some things, and it's not as simple as I'm making it sound. You need a willing partner, and you need to be able, we all know it's not that simple, but I think shared services are probably the number one thing. I think another thing we got to do is we really got to think twice about special assessments. The council doesn't consider that a tax increase. But when I walk and talk to people who are specially assessed $5,000, $6,000, they sure thought it was a tax increase. And we have, 4 more phase plans scheduled, all, I believe, in Northern Crystal over the next 5 years. So I would, I got the stop sign.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll start our next series, or set of questions with Renee Bauman. Do you see the airport as important to the city of Crystal? Why or why not?
Yes, I do see the airport as being important to the city of Crystal, and actually when I was out at the open house this year, I was thinking, my goodness, we have underutilized this property. With the numbers of crowds that come out on that day, there's a part of me that goes, maybe we should make the Crystal Airport a recreational stop area. Maybe if what we did is had flights and the type of things that happen once a year happening more like once a month, it would bring people into our area. Crystal Airport's there to stay. The council has worked with Metropolitan Council to make sure that the citizens are not paying for what's going on out there and that they pay their fair share. But it's a wonderful amenity to the city, and next year, come out for the Father's Day open house. It's a wonderful event. Highlights our wonderful airport.
Thank you, Renee. Andrew Richter?
I think the airport is something worth keeping. As somebody who lives right by it, I like it in my neighborhood. And I would point out it is still in Section 2 of our development plan to redevelop that area. I know the council's currently not pursuing that. Technically, I know it's owned by MAC, the Metropolitan Airports Commission, but I would like to see it stay. And if there are ways we can better utilize it, then we should be pursuing that. But I don't want that torn down. I don't want that part of some high-density housing development plan. I think it's part of Crystal. It's part of our history, and I think it should stay the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Jim Adams?
I would love to see the city working with MAC. I'd like to see them be an integral part of helping to develop business in that area for Crystal. I think we should be, the city of Crystal should be a partner with MAC to help bring in corporations, maybe some Fortune 500 ones, to bring to our north area. There's the opportunity to revitalize our businesses in that area. It's wide open right now. If we can do some minor changes to help promote it and to help make it more usable, that would be fantastic. I would love to see that. I'd love to be a part of that.
Thank you, Jim. This time around, we'll start with Andrew Richter. In what ways do you see the city of Crystal working with other government bodies yet maintaining the best interest of Crystal citizens? Emphasized, Crystal citizens.
Well, I think, again, the big thing is shared services, that we take cities around us that have similar budget issues, similar populations, and work with them to better utilize tax dollars. I've suggested looking at our Park and Rec department, as we already share the pools, and we share some stuff with Robbinsdale as well. And right now, we operate a Park and Rec department at a 69% loss every year, according to our budget, meaning we're subsidizing 69% of the department. And I think we should be able to do better than that. I also think that, like I said, maintaining West Metro Fire, I think those are the big critical things that if we can utilize those tax dollars better and work with cities that have similar issues that we have, that will serve the citizens of Crystal best.
Thank you, Andrew. Jim Adams?
Yeah, there's, we live in a metro area. We have no choice. We have so many different aspects of our lives that are overcrossing. I mean, if we can talk about watershed, we can talk about all kinds of things that we are currently working together and we continue to work together. West Metro, near and dear to my heart. Yeah, we've been able to pull that off with success. And I agree, we need to have more shared services like that. Parks and Rec, we have a lot of subsidies for some of those programs. Either we need to step up participation or we need to step up fees. There are things maybe we have to be more creative. There's a lot of things that we can do to make these things less of a drag on our tax burden.
Thank you, Jim. Renee Bauman?
Thank you. Certainly shared services is the wonderful big buzz term in government these days. However, just because we use the term shared services does not mean that money is saved by any community. We already do a great deal of shared services, not only with West Metro in our Park and Rec, in our Public Works Department, in our Utilities Department, in almost every single department we have, we are already utilizing shared services. Concerning the Park and Recreation Program, had either of these gentlemen been to the budget meeting that we had the other night, they would have discovered that most of our programs, many of our programs, actually break even, and very little are subsidized by the taxpayers. We have a really tight Park and Rec program. We do not run programs that lose money. That would be pretty counterproductive to what we do. So we have to be careful. We want to look at reality, and we want to make sure that when we enter on those shared service agreements, that the citizens of Crystal are not going to be the ones paying the price. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. We will begin this question with Jim Adams. Have you served on any city or multi-jurisdictional boards or commissions?
I have not.
Thank you. Renee Bauman?
Yes, I'm your current mayor. I served a 5-year term on the Robbinsdale School Board. I'm on the West Metro Fire Department's Board of Directors. And one of the wonderful opportunities I had this year was my appointment to Governor Dayton's LGA Tax Advisory Commission, where we have spent this year, 17 mayors from around the state were appointed to this commission to study LGA. We looked at formulas, we looked at what do we really want to pay, is it an antiquated system? And as a result of the work that we did it's still going on, Governor Dayton and Myron Franz, tax commissioner, will be presenting next year's legislature with a white paper that actually comes from the citizens of the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Andrew Richter?
No, I haven't served on any committee.
Okay, thank you. We will begin our next question with Renee Bauman. Crystal, New Hope, and Golden Valley purchase water from Minneapolis. Are you open to increasing the capacity of our joint system to allow for a greater emergency backup?
Very good question, and yes, we have just put that into the works. And what we've discovered is that there was no water backup. So what happens if there's a water emergency in the state of Minnesota? In the city of Crystal. Now our businesses can't stay open if they don't have water to flush their toilets and use in their sinks. So the plan is, we're bringing back some of the wells. We've already agreed upon that between Golden Valley, New Hope, and Crystal. Within the next couple of years, we will have an emergency water system that will fit within the infrastructure that we currently have. It's a very large issue. It's an issue that metro-wide, most of the cities have not been able to and unwilling to wrap their arms around. I believe that an emergency water source is paramount to business survival locally and for the sake of the citizens here in Crystal. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Andrew Richter?
Yeah, if I remember right, we buy most of ours from Minneapolis and had only a 1 or 2 day, if I remember right from the meeting I was at, that, yeah, if that's, I don't know much about that. I have heard of the Crystal, New Hope, Golden Valley agreement, and are tapping into wells, if that's what we have to do to have a backup plan, then I'm for working with them to do it.
Thank you, Andrew. Jim Adams?
At the national level, federal agencies are encouraging the cities to create these emergency response water systems. New Hope, Crystal, Golden Valley, of course, are in the process of doing a feasibility study. Currently, there are emergency sources we have. Those are neighboring cities that have their own wells, Robbinsdale, Plymouth. I know they're not connected at this point in time, but that is, at the moment, an ad hoc emergency plan. I believe we should secure a local water supply and continue to move towards that goal. My current opinion is to wait for the implementation until we can incorporate that in a sustainable spending plan. There is also a private solution to this. It's a private solution to a public problem. You are allowed to drill a well in the city of Crystal. Most people think it's illegal. It's not.
Thank you. This will be our last question. One of the candidates indicated that they felt mayor should be a full-time job. What duties do you see a full-time mayor doing? And we will start this with Andrew Richter.
Okay. Well, I think that what we lack in local government is separation of powers and that are in every other stage of government except local governments. I do think the mayor should be separate from the council and have veto power, and I would change the charter in order to do that. Now, with my vision, and this is a long-term vision, this is, I brought this out forward to start the debate as to whether, Minneapolis has a mayor, I believe, that has veto power. A lot of big cities do. And I think it's problematic when you do things by committee or by majority. I think we need checks and balances and separations of powers. Now, maybe the mayor can become some sort of executive within the city as some sort of city manager or assistant city manager. That's a vision that I think we need to think about, discuss, and debate. And that's why I brought that issue forward. It's a long-term goal.
Your time has expired. Jim Adams?
Yeah, we definitely need to have some controls as far as, or checks and balances in our city government. It's how we were founded, the United States of America. We have checks and balances. And to not have that at the city level is like throwing all of our ideals away. I haven't studied the different styles of government out there at this point in time. Am I willing to have that discussion? You bet I am. You bet I am. I think there's a lot of citizens who need to be heard, who need to be or feel like they've been listened to, and I don't think that's the case today.
Thank you, Jim. Renee Bauman?
Thank you. We do have separation of powers here in the city of Crystal, and the veto power of the mayor to me is really unnecessary. We do have checks and balances. You cannot talk about increasing citizen input and citizen involvement and citizen power empowerment and then on the other hand talk about cutting representation. One of the best parts of the job about the city of Crystal is that I'm not tied to the operations. I am tied to the Crystal citizens. We hire someone that manages the operation, and the council works with citizens to make sure that what we're doing is what we should be doing. Regarding checks and balances, a big part of that really comes into play with the ethical sense of any city. We have checks and balances because in committee format, we go in, we ask the tough questions, we get the answers to the questions. We are the checks and balances, the city council is at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have covered a lot of questions. The audience had more questions, but I'm afraid we don't have time for them. We have reached the final segment, for which we will have 1 minute each candidate to give a closing statement. We will begin in reversed order of our opening statements, and that means we will begin with Jim Adams.
Well, we've been through quite a few topics here. Obviously, we've missed a lot. If you still have questions for me, please feel free to pick up some literature from me. My contact information is on there. Otherwise, look me up on the web. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for giving us the opportunity to express our views and for the citizens to ask their question. I am asking for your vote on August 14th for the position of mayor in the city of Crystal. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Jim. Andrew Richter?
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody, too, for coming out. And if you do have further questions, I'm at richterformayor.com. My phone number is there, I think. I won't say it on the air, but I think it's there. But and feel free to do so. I'll be not running around the city probably every day from here on out. I would also really encourage people to go to my website, and it's hard in a 1-minute answer to name everything you'd like to do, and read through things that I've put out there, real specific changes, ideas, hopefully new things I like, things I don't like. It's all there, and feel free to ask that. And I think, again, the vote for real change is me on August 14th, and I ask you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Renee Bauman?
Thank you. 8 years ago, I was elected to represent you. I listened, then demonstrated I am a catalyst for positive change. During the next 4 years, I do remain committed to my core values, which are of the citizen, by the citizen, and for the citizen, your voice at City Hall, peaceful and prosperous neighborhoods, human rights of all of our citizens, and positive stewards of the environment. My opponents have spoken of financial items, but recently demonstrated their lack of commitment towards our budget. Neither one of them attended the 2013 opening season of the budget work session. I would ask, how deep is their commitment if one does not attend the most important business meeting of the year? If they are not committed to budget work, claims can be made. Can claims of commitment be true, or are they just words? But you can count on me to serve you. Please vote for me, Renee Bauman, on August 14th. I'm a committed candidate, ready to continue the important work of keeping Crystal a great place to live, work, and play.
Thank you. This is the end of our mayor candidate forum. Please join me in thanking our candidates. And we will take a 5-minute break while the candidates for City Council Section 1 are seated. Are David Anderson, David Gasparini, Laura Libby, and Guy Mueller. The timekeeper will assist you by indicating how much time remains. Can you all see her clearly? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We're going to begin with opening statements of 2 minutes each. The candidates have drawn lots in the order they will speak. First to speak will be Guy Mueller.
Hello, my name is Guy Mueller. You may know me as a longtime neighbor and active volunteer. I started my career as a city planner and finished in private business. I have knowledge of both public and private sectors and degrees in urban planning and public administration. I offer a balance of skills and perspectives. Crystal is a great place to call home, but we also face some challenges. Our tax base, it's weak. Cutbacks in LGA and fiscal disparities have hurt us. In 10 years, we've seen property tax levies increase nearly 60%. City water rates are twice the median average. Housing foreclosures and vacancies persist. Home ownership is slipping. Property crime rates are high. And park buildings, which require maintenance, and our targets of vandalism stand idle. Despite these difficulties, we must live within our means. Here's some ideas. As we recruit new employers, let us formally recognize the contributions of our existing businesses. The Bottineau Transit Station, by the way, will be a great opportunity for strengthening our commercial hub. For residential development, move-up housing should be our focus. The recent 3-lane striping of our arterial roads probably warrants some review, and yes, the West Metro Fire District needs some attention. We must nurture neighborhood leadership and engage residents on all matters of policy, from the siting of community gardens to how we collect the garbage, including the possibility of curbside composting. This is my promise. I will ensure that each resident's voice is heard at City Hall, and I will ensure that the voice of Crystal is heard at the state capitol, the Met Council, the county, and the League of Minnesota Cities. I am committed to serving Crystal on a full-time basis. I will be Crystal's champion because Crystal is at a crossroads. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Guy. Next to speak is David Gasparini.
Thank you. Excuse me. My name is Dave Gasparini. I've lived in Crystal in the same old house for the last 40 years. I am an Air Force member. I was. I retired from the post office 7 years ago. The couple things that I am concerned about with the city of Crystal is the property taxes, the increase in property taxes, and the thing that hasn't been mentioned, which is bugs me an awful lot, is nobody is going after the people who do not pay their property taxes. There are some, and I'm familiar with a few of them, and they just continue not to pay their property taxes, which adds a burden to everybody that does pay them. The other important issue I have is the striping on the streets. A lot of people that I've talked to do not like it. The third thing is the fact that we need a greater police presence on the residential streets of Crystal. I live over by Regent Avenue and 36th, and it is like a racetrack. They come from Golden Valley, they come from 36th. Nobody bothers to stop for the stop signs, be it cars, trucks, or motorcycles. It's something we have to take care of. I've called and asked for a police presence there, and I haven't had it happen. It's something that's not only in my neighborhood, but it's all over the city of Crystal. It has to be dealt with and dealt with before somebody gets killed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Laura Libby.
I'm Laura Libby, and I would bring a new energy to the Crystal City Council. I am endorsed by the Green Party. The Green Party's values would guide me in making decisions, as well as the needs of my constituents. I would work hard to balance sound financial management with our expectations of service and quality of life in Crystal. Shared services such as the West Metro Fire District can help us achieve this, but we need to ensure that it remains accountable and responsive to our needs. We should look into other shared services for more cost savings as well. Safety on our streets needs to be a top priority. Crystal needs a plan to reduce the number of accidents on the roads and keep our streets safe for our families. More enforcement and clearly marked crosswalks are some ideas that could work. Crystal should be more proactive against foreclosures, which have hit our city hard. Minneapolis charges banks a $6,000 annual vacant fee on homes. This fee needs to be high enough to incent banks to work with the homeowners, bring in needed revenue to the city, and to get the homes sold faster. We need to hold the banks more responsible. It is also a priority to keep our local economy vibrant and our property values up. We need to maintain our infrastructure and green spaces. These add value to our city and will attract new residents and business owners. Building around the proposed Bottineau Transitway, attracting higher-paying jobs to Crystal, investing in renewable energy, such as solar panels, to reduce city operational costs, and promoting urban agriculture initiatives with things such as a Crystal Farmers Market for local producers and other local vendors will help make our economy expand and make Crystal a more desirable community. And I should add that the cities of Minneapolis and Edina added solar panels on their city buildings at no or very low cost with the use of grants, and I think Crystal should look into that. I would work hard on all of this if you give me a chance to serve in the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson.
Good evening. I'm Dave Anderson. I'm running for re-election to the Section 1 Council position. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on tonight's program. I've lived in Section 1 for nearly 44 years. I graduated from Armstrong High School, the University of Minnesota. I have degrees in business and law. I bring to the council experience in local government, a keen eye for detail, and the ability to evaluate new ideas. Before I became a council member, I got involved with city commissions and issues. I served on the Planning Commission and Charter Commission. I've also served on the County Soil and Water Conservation Board, the Bassett Creek Watershed Board as an alternate, and on one of our local food shelves, PRISM. people responding in social ministry. I got involved in these community affairs because I care about the future of the community I grew up in and want to stay in. With my 33 years as an accountant, I'm able to spot opportunities to reduce the budget and keep taxes down. Several years ago, I got New Hope to agree to a change in the West Metro Joint Powers Agreement that saves Crystal $10,000 a year. Last year, I led the effort to reduce the tax levy. And at our meeting on July 31st, our first meeting of the year on the 2013 budget, I stated that I could not support any increase in property taxes. Public safety is our top priority. I support the West Metro Fire District. I have supported the adding of a police officer in the recent years, and I support adding a K-9 unit next year. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
It is now time for the audience questions. The audience may continue to write questions and raise your hand for a league member to collect them during the course of the forum. Again, questions can be directed to any individual or to all candidates, but each candidate will have the opportunity to answer every question. We do reserve the right to consolidate questions if there are several on one issue, so that as many issues as possible may be covered during this period. We will have 1 minute for each response to the question, and questions will be answered in the rotating order we have established up here, and the first to answer will be Dave Gasparini. Would you support allowing chickens to be raised within Crystal city limits? I've never asked this question before.
I've never had to respond to it either.
It was given to us, and so we put forth to the candidates.
I don't see any problem with that. I know there was a big issue about it a while back. Some lady had chickens and everybody complained about it. But I think if they're kept well and they're kept in the backyard and they're kept caged up, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of food and some eggs right there in your backyard. I don't see any problem with it.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
I also support keeping chickens in Crystal. And I know people in New Hope, it is legal in New Hope, who have chickens. And I've been also to people's houses in Robbinsdale that have chickens. And the people that keep their pens well, they don't smell, the chickens don't make a lot of noise. I do believe that citizens around people that might have chickens should have a voice in being able to say if there's a problem, and there should be inspectors. And currently there are inspectors within New Hope, and it's with the animal control, and we share that position in Crystal, and we could use that same person. And in Minneapolis, they also have that legal, and I think there is a big local food production movement going on, and people would really like to be able to produce their own eggs as long as they're not impacting their neighbors.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
I'm willing to look at the idea. Currently, our city code does not allow chickens to be raised. An example of a place that might be okay would be the Galkey property on Douglas Drive in Crystal. But I would like to get information about problems that chickens could bring. I'd like to hear it from the people who would be involved in enforcing the new code. And I believe our Environmental Commission has that on their agenda. In our area, I believe Brooklyn Park and Plymouth have both recently declined to do so, and Golden Valley is looking at the issue.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
Of course. Chickens are okay. You got to have approval of the neighbors. You got to have regulations. No roosters. The quantity has to be limited. The coops have to be kept clean. They have to be protected from predators, and they have to be set up so they don't attract predators into the neighborhood. And I think as long as you get approval of your neighborhoods and we meet some basic regulations, we can accommodate a little bit of liberty in this country.
Thank you, Guy. The next question, we will start with Laura Libby, and this is a two-part question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the current West Metro Fire District? What would you change to make the fire district more efficient and cost-effective?
I think the strengths of the fire district in having both of the cities working together in that we save the tax dollars for our city, and I think they've done a good job. I've had to call the West Metro Fire District myself, and I think they've responded well when been called upon. I think some of the weaknesses in following what's been going on, I think there needs to be more accountability, and the communication between the cities needs to become better. But I think accountability is really at the heart of the whole issue, that Crystal needs to see all the financial documents and what's going on, and if everybody is given all the information, I think the problems will become better.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
I think the most important strength of the fire district is the firefighters. They're well trained. They do a good job. I think one problem area has been in the financial area. I don't think the leadership of the district has done a good job in that area.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
I think, I really don't know a lot about the daily operations of this district, but I think it probably could be more transparent. I look on the website, I really don't know who's on the board. There's no list of meetings or agendas. There's no way to get a hold of minutes off of the website. So I think that could be improved. I think there's been some rumors and allegations about financial issues. Perhaps a good audit would be in order, and a little bit of sunshine, meaning perhaps the press invited to attend the meetings, and just knowing when they're going to be held. I don't know when the next one is going to be held.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini?
I think this big brouhaha over the West Metro fire is pretty much calmed down now. I don't know a lot about the financial ends of it, but I do know that having a joint system is a lot better than having individual fire in Crystal and New Hope. A joint system saves money, it uses the same equipment, and when they go to buy new equipment, it's done by not just one group, but by both groups. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And our next question, did I get everybody here? Okay.
Yep.
The next question, we will start with Laura Libby. No, I'm sorry, we will start with Dave Anderson. What do you think should be the 3 top priorities for the City Council to address?
Well, I think one continuing area is to monitor West Metro. We've had our meetings and we've given direction, and I think we're in the monitoring mode now to see how things develop. We have to watch our finances. We have to make sure that if local government aid is cut, that we make the appropriate adjustments in our budget, either by raising revenue or cutting services. I guess the third area would be crime and police. Our survey showed that is still a concern of taxpayers, and I think we have a good police department, and adding a K-9 unit will assist them in doing their job.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
Well, our property crime rates are high, and when somebody thinks about moving into the city of Crystal, they get on the internet and they look, and there are all these ratings, and property crime rates are high in this city, so we need to do something about that. I think we need to think about economic development to improve our tax base so that we can tax ourselves at a lower rate and earn the same amount of revenue for city services. And there's all kinds of other things we need to be doing in this city, and there's lots of opportunities. But one of the things that I am most interested in is improving our advocacy mission. We need to let the state of Minnesota know, we need to let the Met Council know, we need to let the public know that local government aid is important to cities like Crystal. It's right and just, and we need it here. The same way with the fiscal disparities programs. There's all kinds of people out there organized with lawyer lobbyists that are trying to tinker with these programs and erode them, and they have a tremendous impact on our budget here and our taxes.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini,
Could you repeat the question, please?
what do you think should be the top 3 priorities for the City Council to address?
Okay. One, which I said before, was property taxes. The second thing is to get after people that haven't paid their property taxes. And the city, several years ago, in the area that I live behind Cub, excuse me, the city council tried to take the 58 houses that lived back there to build up a senior housing and another area. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the city didn't have enough money to do it because it wasn't a blighted area, in my opinion. And second, the third thing is I think the city council should be cut down to 4 people, like one of the mayoral candidates had said. That would be eliminating our position. But we don't need 7 people on here. We need 4 people, 1 for each district, and the mayor. We don't need 7 people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
I think our number 1 priority is safety, both with the police department. I think we could add another police officer. There is a lot of concerns on our streets, and I also think the West Metro Fire District and improving on that is also a top priority. I think our debt service in our city should also be looked at more. I think there is too much debt, and we need to look at how we can reduce that. And I also think really looking into the future and the sustainability of our city and our community around us, and looking into things such as renewable energy and other things like we were talking about, farmers markets, and things where we can be creative that can help us with our costs and also could help us with our economy and having more personal freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. We'll begin the next question with Guy Mueller. Are there opportunities for the city along the Boutonau Boulevard corridor? How will transit options affect city planning?
Well, it's a big opportunity for us, an important one. And I think we need to work with Hennepin County and the other communities to get that transit way aligned and to accelerate its implementation and to plan for and accommodate the new station and to leverage that to strengthen our commercial hub at the Bass Lake Road area. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. It's going to come. I think we might as well jump on the bandwagon and get it going faster.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini?
There's a lot of open areas on the Bottineau Boulevard that could be used for commercial endeavors. If and when the light rail comes through here, there's going to be people that are going to need certain things that commercial buildings and commercial properties can give to those people as they come through the city. And it's going to build up the city to make the city more of a desirable place to come to shop or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
Well, we need to make sure that our comprehensive plan covers development that will meet the needs of the people using that line. But I also think that we should look at other transportation, because the line within itself won't solve all of our transportation problems for people within Crystal. The line is very specific in just going into Minneapolis and up to Brooklyn Park, and I think we also should work with the Metro Transit Council to be looking at increased bus services and other ways we can get people around and not just on the limited route that it's on. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
Bottineau Boulevard does present an opportunity. I think we should work with our community development staff within the city and adjacent communities and the county, but we should also keep in mind that it may be a while before development comes. The Hiawatha line has been in operation for 10 years, and there is very little development along that corridor.
Thank you, Dave. We'll start our next question with Dave Gasparini. Do you support organized collection of garbage?
I know back where I come from, where I was born and raised back in New York, they had garbage collection that was included in your utility bill for everybody. And what we can have here, instead of having truck after truck after truck running through the neighborhoods from different companies, to consolidate it, have the city contract with one company to get the city done, and I believe it would be a good system. It would save our roads. Those trucks are very tough on our roads.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
I would definitely need to see what that would mean for us financially. I would be open to that idea. I do also think we have an awful lot of trucks that drive around on garbage day, but I would want to know what that would mean financially for the citizens of Crystal, but would be open to working and discussing that.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
I would be open to looking at the idea, but I'd like to have a public forum first, and I'd like to hear from the public about, do they want their right to determine who their garbage collector is taken away from them. That's been an issue in several communities.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
Yeah, I know the citizen survey did not support this, but I think all of the other candidates made excellent points here about the multiple trucks, the wear and tear on the roads, the noise, the pollution. So it is a valid possibility. I think one way to deal with it would be to do it on a demonstration project. A ward or a part of a ward could do it for evaluation purposes and see how it goes.
Thank you, Guy. Our next question will begin with Laura Libby. Please name your 3 largest cost savings or revenue increases, and how many dollars would each contribute to property tax reductions?
I think the biggest cost savings is in shared services and keeping things like the West Metro Fire District going. We obviously have a cost saving there, and we need to keep that together. I think our city could also have cost savings if we look at the way we handle foreclosures, like when I talked about having vacant fees for banks. I think that could be more cost savings for our city to hold the banks more accountable. You said 3 things for savings and 3 things for...
3 each. Not 3 each, 3 combined.
And what would be the biggest cost spending? I guess if I'm talking about safety on the streets and wanting more enforcement and some ideas for safety on the street probably would cost us money, but I think it would be worth it. And some of it would pay for itself if we had an enforcement officer. My time's up.
Thank you. Dave Anderson?
Well, one area that I would cut would be the seasonal employees in the recreation department in the maintenance area, not the program area. For 2012, we doubled the number of seasonal employees, and I think we can cut that back. I think we could save $11,000 on that item alone. And that was also an item that was identified in the citizen survey as an area that if services had to be cut, then park maintenance would be one area that the citizens would accept to cut. Another area would be shared services. We already have several agreements with surrounding communities, but I think we can do more in the recreational area with Robbinsdale and save both cities a little money. And I don't have a third one right now.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
Well, we've talked about cutting council positions, and that might save a little bit of money on a $22 million budget or whatever it is total. But if the compensation here is an issue, I'll be the first one to take the pledge not to take any salary, particularly if everybody else would join me. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to fight to keep local government aid. We have to fight to prevent any tinkering with the fiscal disparities program, because these programs bring millions of dollars to our city. One of the other things we can do, and it doesn't have to do with property taxes, but we could look at the specter of the Joint Water Commission again. Bloomington has their own wells. They have good water. They don't have water restrictions. They're also tied into Minneapolis for backup, and their water rates are about half ours. I don't know why we couldn't replicate that here. We need to look into it. And that would save a lot of money.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini?
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric here, and I don't have three things because I'm not that familiar with the running of the city, but if I were to be elected, I would certainly be a part of it. But the one thing that I am looking at, and he just mentioned it, was cutting the council, saving a few bucks. It's over $16,000 if we eliminate 2 positions on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We'll begin the next question with Dave Anderson. What do you see as challenges to starting and/or growing a business in this city?
Well, I think there are challenges everywhere to starting and growing a business. I don't know if Crystal is any different than other cities. We have the same codes that they have, the same types of fees. We try to keep our fees in line with what other cities are charging. There's a League of Cities survey done every couple of years on fees that are charged by cities, and I know our city looks at that before we set our fees each year. We do have a community development department in the city that does try to help new businesses come into the city and succeed.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
Well, regulations and codes and permits can be a factor. They can be a deterrent. We need to look at the specifics. I know of one instance in a neighborhood shopping area where there were limitations on the hours of business use, which prevented the operation, a reasonable operation, and I believe maybe a variance was granted. So we just have to be sensitive to that and be reasonable. But where there's a problem, let's fix it, you know. But ideology, I don't think, enters in here.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini?
I don't think there's any problem or any difference between Crystal and New Hope or Golden Valley in starting up a business. Pretty much every city has its regulations and its rules and its billings, and it should be just as easy to start a business in Crystal as it would be in any other small city in Minneapolis or in Minnesota.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
I also don't believe that Crystal is that different from the other cities. Obviously, if there is a problem that a business is having, looking at an individual basis on variances or how we could make it easier is a good idea. I have spoken to some business owners in my area when I've been out talking to people and have heard mostly good things, that they had easy times starting up businesses and liked working with the city of Crystal. So I was glad to hear that. But again, if there was something that needed to be worked on, would want to try to work with them to make it work for them in Crystal.
Thank you, Laura. We'll begin the next question with Guy Mueller. Do you see the airport as important to the city of Crystal? Why or why not?
Gee, I think I'm going to touch that infamous third rail. The airport is underutilized as an airport. Flights are declining. I'm not sure why it's there. It's nostalgia. It's kind of cool, airplanes. You know, it's hundreds and hundreds of acres of land that could be developed into housing, businesses. It could improve our tax base. It could lighten our tax burden. But I think it's a distant prospect, so perhaps we should put our attention to other priorities. It may be just a moot point. It's well beyond our control with the Metropolitan Airports Commission, which appears to want to keep it. And we need to be friends with them.
Thank you, Guy. Dave Gasparini?
I certainly think it's something we should keep. It's the only airport in the North Metro area. A lot of people do come in here that go into Minneapolis. They use small planes to come in here, and I don't think it's underused. I've gone to the open houses there, and it's very positive, and I think we should definitely keep it.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
I don't know a lot about how much use the airport gets, but I would think that we should keep it, and if it is being underutilized, that we should find more ways to use it more. I liked what Renee said about maybe even looking for more open houses or recreational opportunities, maybe finding ways to help them have more business opportunities with the use of planes. I know it's something, I have taken my kids there and have them seen airplanes take off, so I know that there is a value into that, and maybe we could add more things in with that as well. So,
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
The Metropolitan Airports Commission has determined that the Crystal Airport will stay open for the next couple of decades at least, although at a reduced capacity by taking out 2 or not using 2 of the 4 runways. And there's not much that the City of Crystal can do about that. We have to coexist with MAC, and from time to time we do talk with them, although they, from what I've heard from staff, the MAC staff seem to be very demanding of what they want the city to do, and MAC does not pay anything for the services we provide, including police and fire. But it's a continuing issue that we're going to have for the next 20 years on how we're going to deal with the diminishing use of that airport site.
Thank you, Dave. This is going to be our last question, and we're going to begin with Dave Gasparini. In what ways do you see the City of Crystal working with other government bodies, yet maintaining the best interest of Crystal citizens? Crystal citizens is emphasized.
The way we have to work with other entities and other bodies is for the citizens of Crystal to be able to take care of what's happening in Crystal. Don't worry about Golden Valley. Don't worry about Robbinsdale. Things that have to happen that are essential to the people of Crystal have to be dealt with by the people of Crystal.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
Well, with other governing bodies around Minnesota, like we could be advocating more, like I was talking about earlier, for more bus service with the Metro Council, but we also could be looking at what other bodies have been doing, like things that Minneapolis has been doing with renewable energy, and looking for other ideas that have been working around to bring the best to our city of what other people are already doing and showing success with.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Anderson?
We have several agreements with surrounding cities right now, and we should continue with what we have as well as look for new areas that we can work with. There's been a new proposal to look at fire service over the northwest suburban area that most of the cities are interested in looking at, and that would involve West Metro as being a part of that. And that is the type of thing that we should continue to look for in the future.
Thank you, Dave. Guy Mueller?
I think it's all been said. I agree.
Okay, thank you, Guy. We have answered a lot of questions, and there are still more from the audience, but unfortunately we're out of time. We will now go to our closing statements from each of our candidates. You will have 1 minute. And we will begin in reverse order of our opening remarks, so we will start with Dave Anderson.
Well, I again like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on tonight's program, and I'd like to thank the citizens of Section 1 for having elected me to this position in the past, and I look forward to working on the council in the future. There's been one issue that's been brought up but hasn't really been talked about a lot, and that's the size of the council. I brought an issue to the Charter Commission, and that was to review whether the 2 section council members should continue on the council, and the Charter Commission is looking at that. The City Council cannot do anything about that. It goes from the Charter Commission to the voters. And I would have no problem if they decided to eliminate the positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Laura Libby?
It's time for a change in Crystal. Vote for Laura Libby to bring that change about. My strong leadership, communication, and values will help Crystal to make solid decisions for a sustainable future. The impact we have at the local level on economic, environmental, and social issues is great. I will approach all issues and people with a sense of social and economic justice and a respect for diversity in our community. I believe strongly in grassroots democracy and want to see us all play a part. I will be here to listen to you and work with you. Crystal needs to engage its citizens better, and a vote for me will begin that partnership. Council meetings and other forums need to be more representative, citizen petitions more valued, and more surveys or questions on ballots should be provided for citizen input. Please give me a chance to work with you and do that. I look forward to the opportunity to make Crystal a better place to live and work. Vote for Laura Libby in the primary on August 14th, and if you need more information about my campaign, you can go to www.lauralibby.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Dave Gasparini?
I think it's time for new blood in the City Council. I will fight for the citizens, not for the bureaucracy. I think we need to have people here on the council that will listen to what people have to say and be able to respond and help the citizens of this community gel and come together.
Thank you, Dave. Excuse me. Now, Guy Mueller?
Thank you. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. I've dedicated a good portion of my spare time to the City of Crystal. I've served on the Park and Rec Commission. I've been on the Citizens Task Force for updating the comprehensive plan. I'm now on the the Crystal Fund for Community Progress, a nonprofit group with an unpaid staff and no paid directors. We're trying to do good things for the city. I've been here in this city for 25 years. I want to make Crystal a better place. I am the only Section 1 candidate who will be able to truly perform this job on a full-time basis. I'm willing to do it. I want to do it. I want to serve Crystal. I want to champion our neighborhoods. I want to champion this city. I ask for your vote, the honor of your vote. And if you so do, I will serve you with all my heart and mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. You have heard from your candidates for Crystal City Council Section 1. The League would like to thank the candidates and the audience members for their participation in the forum tonight. Let's have a big hand for all the candidates. The candidates have done their part. Now your part is to vote in the primary election on Tuesday, August 14th. Lois?
Okay. We would like to thank the candidates and the moderator, Joe Bogdan, for participating in this forum. The election, again, will be held on Tuesday, August 14th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is important to know that if you have changed your name or address or have not voted within the last 4 years, you will have to register again. You may register at the polls if you are not currently a registered voter, if you have been a resident of the state for at least 20 days before the election, have a valid Minnesota driver's license, learner's permit, or Minnesota identification card, or receipt for any of these, showing the correct address in the precinct. You may also register accompanied by a registered voter in the precinct who will take an oath along with the election judge that you qualify to vote in that precinct. We hope that you have checked the map right over there that shows the redistricting in Senate 45, including Crystal. Be sure to check it out. We would also encourage you to join the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan organization in providing service to our community and the study of local, state, and national issues. Please pick up some of our League's information available here tonight or visit our website at www.leaguewomen.org. wvmn.org, LOCALLEAGUES, Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth. We would also like to inform you at this time that the Senate 45 GOP forum is not being held as one candidate is not able to attend. And replays for this August 2nd forum with the Crystal candidates will be rebroadcast on Channel 12 on Saturday, October 14th at 8:30 p.m. and Tuesday, August 7th at 8 o'clock p.m. and 11 o'clock p.m. And there are slips with that information on your way out. And there's also one that's the league printed also. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good evening.